Hey friends, welcome back to the kitchen. It is an overcast day. We're actually waiting for the Hurricane Helene to hit New York. We had a little bit of rain last night and yesterday. So I went outside and I harvested more tomatoes and the rest of the habanada and shishito peppers. I'm going to saute this tonight for dinner with some onions and some shaved steak that I got from my meat delivery and make kind of like Philly cheesesteak type things without cheese. So I've been busy promoting the book, promoting the classes that are coming up for the fall, and kind of just getting myself situated. And I wrote an email about how the momentum of fall actually helps you to create new habits and get things done much more than January. So they created January as the new year a very long time ago, but actually the energy of winter is one of rest, is one of like getting cozy, getting the blanket, right? Was that Hijiji thing? I probably mispronounced that, so I apologize, but the momentum as fall is like, yes, the harvest, we're going to bring in what we, reap what we sowed. We're going to begin to transition with the earth, letting go of things that no longer serve us, right? It's also eclipse season, so you let go of the dead wood, you let go of the things that aren't working. And I've been let go of a lot of things that aren't working, and that's hard. Because in our society, we only are rewarded for doing. We're not rewarded for being. And this is something that I still struggle with a lot with living with chronic disease, is like wanting to push through to get things done and then rest, and having to respect that my body is telling me to rest now, to not push through. So a lot of the things I wanted to get done just didn't get done. And Amy Sher talks about this, how there's an effort bucket. So like some people have a bucket list. This is an effort bucket of like all the things that really aren't important, which is what chronic disease teaches you. Like when you are dying and bedridden and can't do anything, you really hone in on what's important and what is a priority. And that's like the greatest lesson of chronic disease. As much as it sucks, like it actually teaches you what's really important. So as much as there's a lot of things I wanted to do and a lot of things I wanted to harvest and prepare for the upcoming workshops, I was kind of like, yeah, my body's not feeling that. And even though the fall momentum is going to try to help me, my body's telling me not to do that. And I think that's part of working with your body, is even when everyone else is telling you one thing, but your body says something different, it takes courage to do what your body says and not what everybody else says. And so I try to practice what I talk about, what I preach, right? And so I'm telling you, even though I wrote emails this month for September about use the fall momentum to help you, I rested still. I still feel kind of burnt out from the book launch and all the things that went around that. And my energy is really not peaked back up. I'm trying right now to do more liver and gallbladder support, and I'm having more fatigue with that. And so I'm just, rather than going into a story, creating a story about what it could be, why is this happening, maybe what I'm doing is wrong, I'm just really trying to get quiet and listen to what my body says. And that means I'm not listening to as many podcasts, I'm not listening to as many trainings. I'm trying to spend that time in quiet with my body. And so I did harvest some Tulsi. I've been ongoingly harvesting Tulsi this season because I've had a bumper crop. So this whole bag, this mylar bag, is filled with Tulsi, dried Tulsi, which is great. Could I harvest more? Absolutely. But you know what? I just don't have it in me. I made some evening primrose oil from the primrose crop from last year. I could harvest more primrose this year, but eating primrose to get the seed is actually what is in the medicine. It's very labor intensive. And because I have limited energy right now, that went to my effort bucket. I could do something else with these. I could make a canning recipe. Not have the energy to do that. I did can last weekend the last of the rhubarb and the last of the oranges I had and made more of that rhubarb marmalade because we really like that. And I put it in a quick bread. But that's that. Like these tomatoes, I really need to do something with them. And I'm probably just going to roast them because I don't have the energy to do anything with them right now. You can see I have some seed saving going on. This is some watermelons, some radish seeds. These are the last of the melons, which are really the first because they all got eaten by the groundhog. So I think that's a muscari melon and that's a personal size watermelon. We're going to cut those open and see what they look like. I did get some more bitters made because I've been taking these bitters at dinner time because I'm finding with this doing this small gallbladder liver support that I'm getting nauseous after eating, which I had an issue with years ago. So I'm taking more bitters, and as soon as I chug the bitters, the nausea goes away. So I made some more bitters, and it will take 6 weeks to actually need to fill this up because you can see that the liquid initially when I did this was at the top, and now there's no more liquid. So the herbs have soaked it up. So it was, it's really something easy. I had all the ingredients on hand, fortunately, for this recipe. It is a recipe that I created myself, but it has hibiscus, artichokes, dandelion root, no, not artichoke roots, artichoke leaf, dandelion root, citrus peels, fennel seed, black peppercorn. What else is in this? I can't remember. I didn't add wild grapefruit to this. Wild Oregon grapefruit. I have that in another bitter recipe. But like you could just make it with 3 ingredients. But I like the way this one tastes. So if it tastes good, I'm going to take it. I also did a batch of fire cider a little bit later than I would have liked considering it's the end of September. I don't like fire cider. It's hard to see because it's in the brown jar. But I did that because you want to keep the tinctures in a dark place. And this is the darkest corner of my kitchen, so this is where I keep the tinctures. We also have a sage mouthwash tincture here. So I make my own mouthwash with apple cider vinegar and sage. This is our vanilla tincture. It's been going, I don't know, probably a year, I think. You could see that rich color. All it is vanilla beans and vodka. And then this is more bug spray. So I make my own bug spray. It's also just a tincture. And this time I added pennyroyal to it because pennyroyal is supposed to actually repel bugs. But it's mugwort, catnip, yarrow, and I added pennyroyal. So again, it didn't cost, all it cost me was the vodka because I grew everything else. The sage I grew, right, only cost me the apple cider vinegar. The vanilla extract is expensive because I want high quality, so I get the organic, what is it, like type A or whatever they call it. It's like the highest quality of the Madagascar vanilla. It's expensive, but again, you have a superior product and that will last all year. Again, fire cider, I was able to use horseradish from our garden. Ginger and turmeric I had in the freezer. I used the onions from our garden. I used the garlic from our garden. Oregano and thyme from the garden. The organic lemons I had to buy. I forget what else is in here. I think that's it. I don't know. Again, fire cider is like, there's so many different variations on it. I make the same variation. I don't like it, but people I know like it, so I gift it to them for Christmas. This will be done by Halloween, so I could actually give it to people earlier if need be, right? It takes 4 to 6 weeks. These artichoke bitters I need to add more liquid to. We also started some infused oils, and what I'd like you to note is the color. So these are not pale yellow, white oils. So like a lot of people, when they make their infused oils, when they make their bombs, they do like the old school traditional method, which is what I used to do. But I did it a little bit more than the old school traditional methods because my bombs still had some color, but not as intense as these. So this is the Cammie McBride method, where you soak the herbs in a little bit of vodka first for 12 hours, I think. And then you add the oil and I use the immersion blender. She does an old school blender. I like the immersion blender. It's so much easier for me. And it's like I don't have to get something else dirty because I just use these wide mouth jars, which had like artichokes in them back in the day. And I just see there's some leakage here because it will stain my counter. Not that my counter is anything great, but I'm trying to diminish the amount of stains. But the thing is, it's like you want the most potent medicine possible when you're making herbal remedies, right? Herbal recipes. I want to not use remedies because I also do homeopathic, and remedies are created differently. So when you're making herbal infusions, right, whether that's a tincture, whether that's an oxymel, which is what fire cider is, whether that's an extract, which is what that vanilla is, that's what that mouthwash is, right? A tincture is the bug spray. I'm going to add essential oils to that after. I drain all of the herbs out. And then this does not go to waste. So like whatever is left after, so I strain it. Let me show you what I do first so you know. So it's interesting. So when I used to first make bombs, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years ago, I didn't think to, and I was making, not just one single oil. Like when I was creating the bombs, they had multiple oils in them, but I was making each infused oil separately. And then I was talking to my girlfriend a few years ago, and I was telling her how to make a tincture. And then I was like, oh, I could just do the same thing with my infused oils rather than driving myself nuts and having like 100 of the single different infused oils. And I'm not exaggerating because I probably had close to 50 or 60. And if you weren't using them, like they go bad. So I was like, oh, I have my formulas that I've created that are individually created by me. They are unique. They are original. I know they work. I've used them for many years. And that's why people buy my products, because they work, because they're potent. I've guinea pigged them on myself, and you can grab them at Violet's Bewitching on Etsy. I sell them at a brick and mortar here in New York as well, in Port Jeff at Celtic Apothecary. But I mean, I was giving these away for people for years for holiday presents, birthdays, whatnot. And people were like, oh, you should sell them. I'm like, I don't want to do that. And then I finally bit the bullet last April, and I decided to do it. And people love it. And I had to make it easier on myself because of that. And so making these ahead of time, these blends, right? So this is my divination blend. Want to label because you won't remember. This is my protection blend. I don't know if you could see that. I have oil on my hands. I'm trying not to make a mess. And I'm going to blend that a little bit more because it's a little chunkier. But my divination, the herbs were minced more finely before I immersion blended it. So it's a little bit easier to work with. But basically what you're going to do, and hopefully I don't make a mess here, is I'm going to use these spiders as my sieves, and you're going to let this, I'm just going to do that. You're going to let this drain out, so it's going to hold on to the solids, right? So I'm using a 4-cup Pyrex. I've got double spiders, so one that has a fine mesh and then one that has a little bit of a bigger mesh at the bottom. And so what's going to happen is whatever is not caught in the first layer, it's going to be caught in the second layer, organic material, because I just want the oil. And so like Cami McBride does a cheesecloth. I don't have the hand strength to do that. And cheesecloth is expensive if I'm getting organic, non-dyed cheesecloth. And you really can't reuse it. Like once you use it once, you can't reuse it again. You can't wash it. It doesn't, because it's oil. Like oil and water don't mix. So this was a method that I found works really well. And so I will move it to have it drain better. And I will keep this here for hours. I will eventually drain all of this into here. But I need 2 hands to do that. And I can't hold the phone and do it at the same time. So you get the idea. But basically, you're going to put everything through the sieves. You're going to get the oil at the bottom. And then, because I'm still not sure if any organic material might have gotten in there, I then use, so this is the evening primrose. You can see there was still, evening primrose is really small too. There was still organic material. So I take a funnel, I put an organic brown parchment coffee filter in that. And then it's another layer of filter. So then my final product of my oil is not going to have organic material in it. So this is something that I did not do initially, and then my bombs would kind of have some crunchiness in them. And if, some people don't like that because it might irritate their skin, or it might feel rough, or it doesn't look great because it doesn't settle properly in the bomb. It might just settle at the bottom. So this was what I came, again, 10 years of doing this. I only started doing this process this way probably a little over a year ago, maybe a year and a half. Probably, yeah, I guess when I started the Etsy shop, I was like, I gotta kind of make this thing a little more streamlined, a little more professional, because I'm only selling these. I'm not giving them away to friends and family for free anymore. And I gotta kind of figure this thing out. So I put the time into it, right? And now the system works. I don't have to think about it. It just works. It takes some time, but you get a better product this way. And it's actually quicker to do it this way, the Cami McBride method, than it is to do it the old folk school. Let me take a jar like this and fill it up with herbs and put oil on it and put it in the sun for 6 weeks. Same premise of a tincture, except a tincture you don't put in the sun. And so I like things that are quicker for obvious reasons. Like, I don't have a lot of time to spend on doing this. I don't have untapped amount of energy. We all have a limited amount. So I need to prioritize where to spend that energy. And I typically prioritize where to spend my energy on making food that is not going to make me sick. So these all things are a bonus. Like, I got to make some infused oils. Great. That's a bonus. But it's not like I have to do this thing. It's not part of my wellness care. I got to a place where I feel better, and now I'm able to share my gifts with other people. But I was not able to do that 3 years ago. Right? So it's, again, having this awareness, being mindful, having your effort bucket, figuring out, like, what do I actually really need to do? And working with the energy that you have, working with the momentum that you can actually feasibly do without burnout, without overwhelm. I've been really burnt out and feeling overwhelmed. So I've been doing less. I've been pulling back. I've been reading more fiction. I've been spending more time outside with the dog. I've been laying on the couch more. And yeah, it's not great. Like, I'm not excited about it. But what I am excited about, what I am grateful for, is that I'm recognizing that's what I need. And rather than shaming myself, rather than feeling guilty and ruminating about it, I'm accepting it. And I'm moving on. And that's huge, because I couldn't have done that 2 years ago, maybe not even a year ago. So it's a constant evolution. Healing, life, the discoveries you make, honoring your own needs first, right? Like I say all the time that self-care, yeah, it's not selfish, because that's the new catchphrase. Self-care is not selfish, but it's also more than an activity. It's actually connecting with what you really need. What is your body calling for? What is actually going to fill up your cup? Not the frivolous manicures and getting your hair done and going to the happy hour and buying the new pairs of shoes. Like, that doesn't fill your cup. You might feel good in the moment, but after, you're just as depleted. And you might actually be more depleted, because then you're like, I didn't have that money. Or I don't feel good because I went to happy hour and I ate and drank things I didn't like to do. Or, rather than getting my hair and nails done, I could have used that money to get high quality food. Right? So, like, I don't think the way that I live is so crazy. I think it's very different than when I used to do in my 20s. I think it's radically different. But I'm okay with it, because I feel better living the way that I live. And so no one gets to tell you what you're doing is wrong. You get to choose what's best for you. And ultimately, you get to decide what activities help you and what don't. So if you liked what I had to say, there's a link to sign up for my newsletter. You can grab a free breathwork session. You can check out my book, The Journey of Unlearning, to regain trust and healing. I talk about a lot of these discoveries in that book. And I hope to see you next time. Bye, friend.